Hey YouTube, it's Icy, and welcome to the 198th episode of Best Tech Info and Rumors. Alright, to start off, I just wanted to say that first up, I'm going to be discussing jailbreaking iOS 7.1.2 as well as 7.1.3, the Pangu Untethered jailbreak in general, and a few other things. Some of the information I may not have mentioned previously in some of my earlier videos, so if you're interested, just be sure to stick around. Otherwise, if you're on the desktop version of YouTube, there will be an annotation on the screen now that you can actually click to fast forward through that portion of the video to the remainder of the video where I discuss various news in the technology world. So, starting off, again, let's talk about jailbreaking. So with the latest Pangu iOS 7.1 through 7.1.2 untethered jailbreak utility for all devices, including newer ones such as the iPhone 5S, iPhone 5C, 5, 4S, iPad Air, and the Retina iPad Mini 2 or second generation iPad Mini, jailbreakers the world over got their wish. However, as surprising as it may be, there are still those who refuse to jailbreak their iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch on iOS 7.1, 7.1.1, or 7.1.2 due to Pangu's origins and insist on waiting for an untethered solution from the evaders. Now, while I've covered the legitimacy of the new 7.1 jailbreak and previously dispelled any claims of Pangu being fake, referencing an article from Evasi0n jailbreak, I thought it would be an excellent time to further discuss the iOS 7.1.x jailbreak and whether the evaders will actually update their Evasi0n untethered utility to support iOS 7.1 through 7.1.2. And although it would certainly be great and amazing if the evaders released an updated version of Evasi0n, it simply won't happen. At least not right now for 7.1. Now, while I've previously touched on this topic before in various videos regarding the 7.1 Pangu utility, essentially it's a matter of legality. Now, before you say, wait a second, I thought jailbreaking was completely legal. It is. It's remained legal under the DMCA. The actual act of executing an iOS 7.1.2 untethered jailbreak isn't the issue. The problem and primary complication that's preventing the evaders from simply reverse engineering Pangu and developing an updated Evasi0n 7.1 tool is the method that Pangu employs to deliver and execute the initial unsigned code. Now, to simplify this explanation as much as possible, it's important to understand what a jailbreak is and how it functions, or at least have a rudimentary grasp of the concept. So, the end goal of a jailbreak is to allow for root access, which enables the tweaks and packages that propagate Cydia to function. First, however, code that isn't signed by a developer, approved by Apple's strict review team, and distributed through the App Store itself must be executed, typically via exploits. Now, in the case of the Pangu jailbreak, the Pangu team, the developers actually behind the creation of the untethered 7.1.1 jailbreak tool, used an Apple Developer Enterprise account to allow unsigned code to execute properly without burning through the incredibly valuable initial exploits that are typically required. Now, while other vulnerabilities are indeed used and exploited during the opening of the Pangu app, which functions thanks to the use of expired Developer Enterprise certificates that function, again, because of a loophole in Apple's developer program, which is explained more in depth in a video that I will have linked to below, Pangu relies heavily on the aforementioned certificates. Without them, there simply wouldn't be a jailbreak. And although the evaders could easily have either used a developer enterprise account of their own or burned through new exploits, neither avenue is appealing and both have their significant drawbacks. So with that being said, Pangu will remain the only jailbreak for iOS 7.1 through 7.1.2. And what's more, Apple will almost certainly patch the jailbreak with the release of their forthcoming iOS 7.1.3 update. And we know a new installment to iOS 7.1 is on its way, in this case likely 7.1.3, because there are still some issues with iOS 7.1.2. Right now, the most noticeable problem, at least that I've come across, is a battery drain issue that wasn't present on earlier versions of 7.1, including 7.1.1. So I find that extremely interesting. I'm actually going to discuss that further at a later date, but for now, just know that iOS 7.1.3 is indeed coming. So if you have yet to jailbreak iOS 7.1.x on your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, then just be sure to watch any of my detailed tutorials or guides on the topic that actually walk you through each and every step required to successfully jailbreak fully untethered. Untethered. I will have a link down below in the more info to my detailed iOS 7.1.2 jailbreak guide, which is actually the one I recommend following. And of course, that tutorial will also function on 7.1 as well as 7.1.1. And now let's move on to some of the other news in today's episode, starting with Apple and iOS 8. So yes, earlier this week, Apple seeded iOS 8 Beta 3 to registered iOS developers. Now, this latest Beta 3 version was seeded nearly 3 weeks after the release of the second beta iteration of iOS 8. And actually, in my latest video, aside from this one, I detailed how it's theoretically possible to update to iOS 8 Beta 3 on a device that's UDID isn't officially registered through Apple's developer program. Now, that video is for educational purposes only. It highlights a security flaw in the way Apple handles iOS developer updates. So if you're at all interested in that and you want to see technically how it works, just be sure to visit my video again on the topic. I will have a link to that down below in the more info. All right, now moving on, I want to discuss something pretty important. Now just be sure to listen through this entire segment first before actually commenting. So on Tuesday, Adobe released a Paramount security update that patches a vulnerability that could aid hackers in the process of taking control of a computer once a user visits certain sites. Now, the new update, Flash version 14.0.0.145, was issued for all Windows, Mac OS X, and Linux-based operating systems. And according to an expert security blogger, the vulnerability this latest update patches had the potential to allow hackers to, quote, steal cookies that could authenticate users on a countless number of websites. Now, although a number of affected websites have already fixed the issue on their end, Google Chrome actually automatically updates Adobe Flash, and Apple is starting to block older versions of Flash and actually requiring that users update to this latest version. It's still recommended to manually update if you're not sure if you have the latest version of Flash installed, because again, this is definitely a threat and it could pose a future threat, although there aren't currently any documented cases of hackers exploiting this vulnerability to, again, achieve various things like stealing login cookies. So just be sure to visit the link that I have listed down below in the more info on BestTechInfo. If you're not sure if you've updated, it actually contains a link to the latest version of Adobe Flash Player. Now let's move on to the iPhone 6, Apple's next generation iPhone that I'm sure a lot of you are actually looking forward to. So earlier this week, an image of new alleged iPhone 6 components surfaced that propagated throughout the blogosphere following their initial appearance on a site by the name of apple.club.tw. Now, the single blurry picture appears to showcase a purported LCD frame for the device with metal shielding. Now, the metal shielding is presumably intended to separate the LCD from other internal components. And also in the image, a bracket claimed to secure the home button was supposedly identified. And although the authenticity of this latest leak has yet to be confirmed, it's uniform with those that preceded it. Furthermore, looking back to years past, without reading too much into it, other than the irony of high-end devices being leaked in such a low-end manner, it seems as though every blurry and/or grainy leak that resembles previous images of similar components were later confirmed in their legitimacy. All right, and avoiding further speculation, just be sure to stay tuned for complete coverage on Apple's upcoming next generation iPhone, presumably dubbed the iPhone 6. Here on my YouTube channel as well as on BestTechInfo. And kind of backing up really quick, I just wanted to mention a set of recent leaks that kind of preceded what I just highlighted. So videos started to appear on the web that showcased what's claimed to be the actual front panel for the iPhone 6. The part that will, if this is authentic, cover the LCD display. Now, it's supposedly made of sapphire crystal, material that's definitely been a buzzword lately amongst the Apple blogosphere. And if you're not familiar, sapphire crystal is an extremely durable material. It's also very hard to produce on a large scale, and previously until now, it was thought to have not been cost-effective enough to actually use as one of the main components for something like covering glass on a high-end smartphone. Well, now, according to various sources and reports that have been published within this past year, Apple has entered the game of mass producing sapphire crystal, at least for their own purposes. And in some of the videos, the component holds up not only to a knife, but to stabbing, extreme pressure, and actually flexing of the panel itself. And like last year, I'll definitely try to do my best to get you guys some exclusive coverage on Apple's upcoming iPhone 6 and some of the components that will inevitably go into creating the device. Now, Also, before we conclude, I wanted to briefly discuss Android Wear. I've talked about it in past episodes of Best Tech Info and Rumors, and now I actually have two of the devices, the LG G Watch as well as the Samsung Galaxy Gear Live, or actually just the Samsung Gear Live, I guess is what they're calling it. Now, these two smartwatches are actually the first two to support Android Wear, which is Google's all-new modified version of Android to run on smartwatches and actually integrate with their full-fledged mobile operating system being just Android. If you're interested in the full video as well as kind of a review and comparison against the Pebble smartwatch, which is actually a great device that I'm a huge advocate of. I've done a video on the Pebble watch in the past and I've mentioned it before. Just be sure to let me know down below in the comments section. Also, if you guys are interested in earning paid applications from Apple's App Store for free legally while simultaneously supporting the developers of said applications, just be sure to visit bit.ly/getfreeapplife or freeapplife.com inside of Safari. Once downloaded, install sponsored apps for points and then redeem said points for, again, paid app codes from Apple's App Store, gift cards, and electronic devices. Also, in addition to the numerous giveaways that Free App Life is now holding on their Facebook page, just facebook.com/freeapplife, I'm actually planning on some pretty big giveaways here in the foreseeable future. So just be sure to stay tuned, and if you're interested in me actually holding said giveaways, again, rate this video up and leave a relevant comment down below in the comment section. If you don't know what to leave in the comment section, try answering the question of the day. And for this video, I think I'm going to make it related to the Android Wear smartwatches that I previously detailed. So if you want to see a full video on the two watches, again, let me know down below in the comment section or on Best Tech Info. And if you guys want to be updated more often, such as when I create new videos and cover things like jailbreak topics, just be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, add me one of your circles inside of Google+, follow me on Instagram at ICUID, and subscribe to my secondary YouTube channel, youtube.com/ICUID. And until next time, this is ICU signing out.